All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. I got my co-host over here, Robert Benenati.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we have these discussions and we forget to hit record. Makes no sense. We come here to do podcasts and we only record 10%.
Yes.
We're nuts. So what we're getting into here is Robert's podcast, actually. And he talks about how I come up with all these crazy subjects and I can just kind of flow with them. I don't know. My mother says it's like I'm talking to a shrink, which is kind of funny. I don't know how that, when I do my solo act, I guess you could say, they just kind of come out of me. And I was just telling him maybe kind of take a journal approach where he talks about all the things he does. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be throughout the week, the month, because he does a lot of incredible, interesting things. But I think when he goes to talk, it almost has to be too structured, almost like when you're doing your own podcast, like consulting, coaching.
Well, the thing is this, Rich. Especially when you own a business. I'm in the real estate industry. My initial mindset would be to talk about what I do,
right,
or what I know, which is real estate. And if I am going to go that route, right, and it's all about structure, right? You're more of a, what do I want to call it, like a freestyle, right?
Of course.
You could talk about anything.
I've had some crazy life experiences.
Right. But you talk about workout, you talk about, confidence, you talk about anything, right? Restaurants and traveling, whatever.
Right.
I find myself talking more about real estate. So when I do, I feel like I have to be accurate of what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So
sure.
I just can't kind of wing it, right?
Yeah.
And I have to give good information. So it's got to be structured. So there's preparation maybe to it, meaning I pick a topic. I don't know, why should I buy a new home versus a resale, right? Then I have to have this list of the reasons why, and I can obviously wing it. But I feel like if I'm doing a podcast, it's got to be informative and well structured. Right, so I have to hit every single bullet point.
Right.
Why? Because it's new. Because it has warranty. Because the incentives and break it down. Right.
Yeah.
And I find myself sometimes, like I just told you a little while ago, recording it, and then I screwed up. I missed this. I didn't. I went down the rabbit hole. I'm talking too much about, point number 3, and I didn't get to the other 7 points yet. It's becoming I'm just rambling. Let's say.
You're right.
So, and you're telling me, well, how about if you do a journal type? Talk about because I do other stuff. I do invest. I do flip. I do
right.
And I could talk about that, how my day goes. What are my, ups and downs? What are my, complications? There's a lot of them usually when you're flipping homes and stuff. And I could share that. Not necessarily have to teach it, but share it, and which in a form is teaching. So, that's where I sit at. That I feel that I have to be structured, and you're not. At least in the sense that you can talk about anything at any time, anywhere, and it works out for you.
Do you think a couple of things I want to ask you? Do you think one is fear related? Two, that you want to be seen as and you are a broker, and that's your brand. But I'll just say this. I think, though, a lot of people are afraid to talk about other things or are afraid to expose, I guess you could say, a different side of themselves.
Yeah, I see the podcast like it's part of my business, right? So it's got to be business-oriented in my head. It's not like, okay, I'm doing this for fun. I just opened, I just started a podcast, named, XYZ, and I could talk about anything, anytime, anywhere. It doesn't need to be well structured.
Well, you think maybe 2 different ones?
And I'm getting into more stuff I don't even get into.
Well, my point being is I'm just going to tell you what happened with me. I find when people, if you look at Rogan or somebody, they're always interviewing different people. Mm-hmm. That's what keeps it interesting. Right. But if all we did was listen to Joe Rogan about MMA or solo by himself, I'm just saying, or something, it becomes redundant.
Yeah.
Right? And I found myself in that position too. If I only talked about confidence, after a while, there's not that much in the tank for a lot of us to keep going, I think. That's what people have to realize. A lot of people think, and we've kind of discussed this with branding ourselves or online or whatever, you run out of juice after a while.
Yeah, but it depends for who, because if you're doing 2 podcasts a month, that's only 24 topics for the year. You're doing 300.
I'm crazy with it. No,
you're doing one
I
a
get
day.
it. But 100%. Again, though, you got to figure out if you're only going to do, 2 a week, hypothetically, right? 10 minutes a piece. Are you really going to build a following? Maybe you will. I'm not saying you won't. I still think, say in a year, unless you're kind of bringing up current things that you're doing and that you're going through that are new. I think one of the things that does work for me, and I built this audience, is one is no one knows what I'm going to talk about, which works or doesn't. Because a lot of people get it on, they'll be like, oh, Rich, I thought it was a solo act. Now you're with Robert. Then the other times you're like, wait, I like it only when you're with Robert. Then the next time could be, I only like fitness, Rich. Or I only like confidence. Or I only like when you talk about travel. I only like when you talk about...
Yeah, but I think you have a mixed audience.
Sure.
For example, let's just run numbers here. So you have, let's say, 100 following, right?
Yeah.
And you put out a topic. And every time you put out a episode, you only get 20 listens,
right.
Let's just say, right? So topic number 1 is about fitness. You're going to get only from 20 from that 100 that want to listen to fitness, and the other 80 do not want to, right?
Right.
And then the next time you put a topic about confidence, those 20 that heard about fitness don't want to listen to anything about confidence.
Absolutely.
So you have that mix, which is, I think it's great, because you could talk about anything and you still get the views and the listens, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing with you is we don't know what people necessarily are going to gravitate towards with you a lot of times. I know you only want to pitch real estate for the most part. But you... that's what I want to pitch. I think that's what's natural, right? And it makes a little bit more sense. And I might be wrong. Are you having fun, though, doing it, too? There's your catch.
That's the next one. Well, the next one is, I started Real Business Podcast.
Right.
Which had nothing really to do with real estate.
Right.
It was more, number one, interview-based.
Sure.
Which is a lot more entertaining than listening to, like you said, one person just, speaking. So it was interview-based, and all sorts of people, business people, restaurant owners, realtors, if that, marketing, social media, whatever, coaches, right? And just learning from them and sharing their topics and exposing them, right? Which I did have fun, because it was a little bit away from real estate. I didn't feel that pressure of real estate.
I get it.
So this was fun.
Right.
Now with, and I started very strong and booking people, and
it's hard.
And then now, everyone's busy.
Oh, COVID hit too. I mean, let's call it for what it is.
Yeah,
a little
but
bit.
when the COVID hit, it was great because people had free time.
Right, but a lot of people still were kind of afraid. I think for you too, right? The schedule was good.
No. Yeah, it was good. This was 1-on-1. They did ask me,
good.
How's this?
I didn't know.
Where's the place? I'm like, listen, we're 6-7 feet apart. I sterilize everything. It's only really myself in the office.
Right.
And at the time of the interview, it's just us two. So it was good. It was just after everything kind of came back to normality was where they had to play catch up back in their businesses or whatever they were doing. So then it started getting hard to really book interviews. And then I got busy myself. Yeah. And I think I didn't take that in consideration, that I would be busy to also stop and do these interviews, and not do the interviews because I could sit down like I'm doing right here. I have free time, I'll do it. It's following up and searching who's the next.
It's a lot of time and effort. Video,
it's time and
especially.
effort, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of time and effort.
And I was doing video on top of that,
exactly.
So now we have to edit that with the audio and so forth. But anyway, well,
let's sum it up this way.
Yeah.
When you do mine, we talk about things it seems like that you love to talk about, or we can argue, or fun things. It comes out of you very easily. Mm-hmm. Just saying. And I know that it's easier when you have two people anyways, but if you...
really what it is,
go.
This is not my podcast.
Right.
So I don't have a plan. I don't have a structure with this podcast. Well, this is where I want to take this podcast to.
Right.
Right. Again, when I do my own, I have an itinerary. What do I want to do with this podcast? I want it to grow. I want the following, and what we all want, right? For it to be successful and noticed. When I do them with you, we talk about so many different things. It's like going to a coffee shop, sit down and just talk about whatever, or
right.
go have a cigar and talk about whatever, right? So for me, that's how it feels like when I'm doing
right.
it, when I'm on your podcast. So it's a little different.
Well, let's put it this way again. If you're talking about things you love or like,
Mm-hmm.
I can assure you won't have a problem talking about them.
I
right?
agree.
That's anyone.
Yeah,
I don't
agree.
care if I talk to Omar about music, he'll go on forever. Or then if I talk about something else, he's lost. Like he won't talk, right? Because then he doesn't know what he's talking, or he feels.
Yeah, he's
right. I'm just using him because we both know him. That can be anybody. In your case, if we find what you love to talk about. Now, I'm not saying you do or don't love to talk about real estate, but I do think there has to be something else in there, because I do think, again, you're going to get caught being not just redundant, but bored. And I think that you don't. I get that this is part of your my podcast is for fun.
Right.
Yours is for work.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
That's the difference. That's
is it not? Maybe you don't want it to be work, is what I'm saying.
No, I see what you're saying.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just saying to
make it fun.
Maybe make it fun, or just try out something different.
Within the real estate.
Yeah, and like we're just saying, it could be you're doing real estate every day, and the reason I said do a journal, because if you think about it, when you're talking about what you do throughout the day, you're going to be touching on a lot of things, and eventually, in a certain amount of time, you're going to be basically covering everything very nonchalantly, like it's kind of like just flowing out of you. Where if you have to structure it, how many people, though, do want to listen to you about real estate, though, after a while? Right? I'm just saying that's another thing. Unless you're saving them tons of money or you're doing something unique as far as that nobody else is doing, why am I going to keep listening to you about real estate unless I'm maybe looking for a home? So what else are you bringing besides that? So if every time I click on you to listen to you and you're talking about Florida real estate and I'm not even living in Florida or I'm not buying real estate, what else is going to make me listen to you? Mm-hmm. I would listen to you for the journey, because if you're telling me one day about flipping, the next day about doing videos, next day about marketing your company, and then maybe the next day about you goofing around saying, I can't get to the gym to meet Rich. Then the next day, I'm exhausted, I'm sick of it, this is what's going on in my life. I'm following who you are, more than just kind of following the subject of real estate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, got it.
But on the flip side, that's you too. You got to make yourself interesting. Like, I think what happens with you is you're very interesting, but it becomes so structured, it almost becomes non-interesting. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. All right, we got another podcast coming up. We don't know what it is yet. What else? You got anything else to say?
In conclusion,
What?
We got nowhere.
In conclusion, he's not going to have another one. He's going to talk himself out of it. In and out, backwards. Oh, my God, are you hilarious? Oh, my goodness. All right, you got anything else to say about real estate? No, that's how we're wrapping up. All right, peace out, everyone.
We're done.